Good morning, everyone. We are here to cover Module 15, Working with a Seller, Part 1. And I'm excited to get some feedback from you. Everybody's been really busy this week. So before we dive into working with a seller, let's talk about successes you've had this week. Awesome. Ray, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. I can't remember where we were at last week. I think I hadn't gotten my buyers under contract last week, but they got under contract last week. So, well, did I already say that last week? I can't remember. My days are mixed up here. I think I got them under contract.
You were working on it. You maybe had your counter out last week.
Oh, right. So I think it was like a weird thing. It was because we have our class on Thursday. I think I got the call Wednesday night, but it was like the seller doesn't use computers, so I hadn't actually gotten the contract. I had like. And I got it late night, but it was just like penciled in or whatever. I mean, it was just like a photocopy or whatever. But since then I did put a house up for sale and we got under contract on, I guess it was Sunday or I think Sunday. Right. Or no, actually officially by Tuesday, I think.
So that was your first experience working with a seller, right?
Yeah.
Good. So I look forward to your feedback on that. You've had a really busy week, so you've got some more stuff going on.
Yeah, I have another house that I'm working on. We're gonna go up by July 1st. So, and that's in Franktown. And then I'm working with my cousins. My cousins finally started looking for houses. So we've been out scrounging, and it's just that's an interesting. I mean, these houses are close, so I'm really excited that I don't have to drive to Greeley for looking at a house. They're looking in Arvada and Westminster, and stuff that's only like 5 minutes, 10 minutes from here. That's been awesome, by the way, because I've been driving so far for everything.
Well, you're rocking it, and it probably does feel like you're drinking from the fire hose a little bit.
Oh,
it's the first.
I stayed up late last night just to organize my emails and my paperwork and making sure I didn't forget to respond to something. I mean, I have a couple, like in 2 different transactions, there's somebody named Melissa, and one of them's the listing agent or the buyer's agent, and one of them's the like a title person. I'm like, wait, did I send that to the right Melissa? I'm just like,
doesn't that always happen? You get the same names.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. Well, congrats. Really excited for all your business. So it's exciting when things really take off. Successes for either Sean or David. Who wants to go next?
I had a listing appointment yesterday, and I'm hoping to pick up the contract. They are working to finish up a few things on the home that need to be finished, like some thresholds where they had changed the flooring at the doorways need to be finished. They need to finish the stairs that they're redoing with the Trex decking on the deck patio area. And it's up there in Ketton Ridge, and it was a sign call from the sign for the house that I just had up there that I closed a few weeks back. So pretty excited that they reached out from the sign.
Sign calls are a great way to get business. That's why it's nice to have inventory. Without signs out there, it's hard to get those calls. So hopefully, Ray, but statistically, you should close a buyer for every listing if you're marketing to the highest level. So that is something that is harder to do when they go under contract in 3 hours.
Right.
Marketing time. So we had to be creative. How about you, Sean? Successes this week?
Successes. I've met with a lot of people, which is great. I do not have a listing agreement, unfortunately, but at least I'm getting my name out there and making people aware of my career and how I can help them. So
that's fantastic. So we had a pretty decent week. One of the things that we found out last night, we had just a little private get together with a client at their house. They make cider, so they invited us over for their cider unveiling. And they I think make some of the best cider that I've ever tasted, hands down, from any brewery or anywhere. That's why I drink cider, is because of them. But anyway, so what we learned though was interesting was that his sister, and we did not know this, but his sister is a diamond with RE/MAX Pros. Which means she's closing over $1 million a year. And yet we listed and sold their rental property, and we've sold them other property. 2 things we talked to about that with them is they don't necessarily want to have family all involved in their stuff. So that's one reason why family might go to an outside source. Plus her sister, they work down in Centennial, is her private, her primary area down there. So she wouldn't necessarily come up north. So my script to them was that I would love to have the opportunity to have a reciprocal relationship because we don't work south. Maybe we could do her referrals up north and we could refer, you know, some down to her. So I think that it was interesting to find out though that they have somebody that's such a high level realtor, because a lot of times people do have realtors in their family, but they aren't necessarily absolute rock stars. So this person has a sister who's an absolute rock star and still did business with us, and they saved every pot buy we ever did. And so when we left their house last night, we said that is a testament to our Popeyes, because I'm sure they wouldn't have been doing business with us or even remembered us if we hadn't been, you know, continuing with that relationship with them. So that was a really interesting perspective, I thought. And then 3 other people right now that are in our database, we are actually competing for the listing business. And so it's not easy, even when you've been there, you know, and so making the calls and keeping the relationship is your foot in the door. It's not a guarantee for sure. We have to be really good at what we do. So with that, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is, how are your Popeyes going?
So Popeyes are good. I got the Father's Day ones out. I mean, I know that you're probably not doing the same ones. We have the stuff within the group, and people are probably doing other things. But I actually dropped a Popeye off. Like I was late for Father's Day. I dropped it off. Wait, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I dropped it off to one of my neighbors that I hadn't really hung out with, but we've met. And I was about to leave, and then somehow we just cracked the beer open and we sat on their front patio for like an hour and a half drinking beer, and I never got the other 2 Popeyes out. So I got to go back out. Yeah. It was great though. I got to know them a lot.
Yeah.
You know, they were just,
That's awesome.
It was a good little moment. Yeah.
And we've had a couple of those too, and sometimes they really do end up as relationship builders. So good job. Good job on that. Anybody else doing Popeyes this week had a good experience? Well, we got all of our Father's Day Popeyes out. And you know, we met quite a few people out there. This week we're getting everything ready for our 4th of July, and we missed the Costco sale. So if you didn't get your relish packs at Costco, you might want to get on Amazon and order some ice cream scoops because those party packs are gone. And so just so that you know, we got to be thinking earlier next year, me anyway. Let me ask you this. So we've been in this, we're in, you know, week 8. What is something that you've done that you've gotten a little bit out of your comfort zone that you're most proud of?
That's a good question.
It's a hard question, but something.
Trying to follow some of the scripts. Yeah. That's kind of hard for me because I don't like to feel like I'm in a box, but we're definitely trying to do certain processes that are defined like a box. So that's been a little uncomfortable.
But you've been able to do that and you're doing really well. So that is something to be really proud of. I think that scripts and calls are the hardest thing. They're that double-edged sword, the hardest thing to do and the most rewarding too. Anybody else, something really great you're proud of? It doesn't have to be outside your comfort zone either, really. It's just something that makes a difference to you that you're proud of.
So I think for me, and sorry, I'm just getting over laryngitis.
Oh my goodness,
So
Joanne.
I have not been able to make my calls this week. So I've been texting people, but because I can talk better today. But I think for me, just asking for referrals. You know, in the past, I would talk to people and I just assumed I was staying top of mind with them. And I never asked for a referral. And I've gotten 2 from it. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for me so far.
I love that. I love that because I think that is the most rewarding and the most eye-opening, because a lot of people don't, I mean, we think we're top of mind because we're touching and we're sending them things and we're in, you know, doing the Popeyes and things, but really we have to ask. We still have to ask for the referrals and remind them. And so congrats on that. I think it's hard for all of us to get out of our comfort area and actually ask. And so good for you, Joanne. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm glad that you're feeling that your voice is getting better. And congratulations on your under contract, because I don't know if everybody knows, but she got her buyer. Is it going okay?
Yay.
Yeah, I got 2 under contract in the
Awesome.
last 10 days. One of them, it was the 7th offer.
Oh, wow. I
And
think Ray's was the 8th.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
so
was brutal.
you did get them under contract then.
did.
I did,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yay.
Nice.
We had inspection yesterday too. It was pretty decent. Nothing, no 911s, no reds.
I think our class is going to blow the statistics out of the water for 100 Days to Greatness. Can't wait to show them at the end. Well, so anything else, like anything, Sean, that you've done during this last few weeks that you feel really good about?
I would agree with Joanne about asking for the referrals. It's such an uncomfortable position when you're talking to, people that you have a relationship with for a long time, and to kind of do that transitional phase where it's, hey, look at me in a different light. So that's, that is tough. And I've been getting some referrals, but it's usually after they're already with somebody. So it's kind of a little too late, but doesn't mean I won't stop trying.
That's right. Good job. That is awesome. Ray?
Yeah, I mean, everything everyone's saying, I haven't really been practicing this week, although I have, used some of the scripts with the referrals, and, hey, just wondering if you had some real estate needs, do you have somebody, that you would use, but I think my challenge this week, and again, I have these sellers, I think they're excited about selling, but really attached to their house, and they were, oh boy, I don't know what's the professional way to say it, but they were really sort of moody with me. And I just a lot of emotions going on, and it was hard. It was really hard for me to not sort of sometimes take it personally. Although in private, I was like, man, I feel like they're mad at me, but they weren't. They were just emotional. And so I took a step back, and then I called one of the seller's sisters, whose house is the one I'm putting up in Franktown for sale. And I said, are they beer drinkers? What are they like? She's like, well, they're whiskey drinkers. So when I went over to present the one single offer we had, it was a good offer. It was just a weird weekend. There wasn't a lot of activity. They were really sort of upset that there was only one offer. And I was like, well, that's all it takes is one offer. It's all we need. It's a good one. But I brought them a bottle of whiskey, and that really calmed them down. I just, and they cracked it open and started drinking it. And they were like drinking it. Like, you want some? I was like, yeah, come on now. It's like, yes, I do. What? I can't believe you made me wait like 15 minutes. Like, what the hell, So it was fun. But I mean, I don't know. I'm learning, and working with the seller part one. I wish we had maybe gone over some of this beforehand. I think I can immediately see where it's not that I need work. I just think I need to approach my sellers a little differently. I have a mindset. They have a mindset. I have to find a way to sort of, I don't know, caress what they need, I guess, if that makes sense.
Totally does make sense. There's a really good video too on Remax University, and it's called Personality Styles, and it's by Judy Ledoux. So it's really good. That helps with some of that. And so let's talk about a little bit about what improvements that you think you might be able to make going forward. What would you do better? And I can list about 5 to 10 things right now, but I'll save mine for last and let one of you go first. What do you want to do better?
I would like to better understand my clients' needs. I think that I've lost a couple of, potential listings and buyers because of their fear base, and I'm not exactly dealing with that as best as we should, apparently, because I've lost.
How did you like the pre-listing questions? I mean, they're pretty basic, pretty straightforward, huh?
Yeah.
I have a list of needs analysis questions that include these, and have a few more, but these are the most important. And so listening, yeah, that's tough. And making sure that we understand. So especially when we're newer in the business, we try to fill up the empty space instead of letting the silence do the heavy lifting. And so if you think about, as a general rule, you want to be talking only 25% of the time. And you should be asking a lot of questions and going 2-3 questions deep. And so that makes people feel like you care, you're sincere. That builds rapport, because people love to talk about themselves and they love it when people understand them. And that gives you that deeper relationship. So it's hard to do. It used to be especially hard to do showing property when you had people in your car and it was just dead silent, but you just have to be able to not fill the space unless you're just asking a relevant question or something so they can fill the space. Anyway, that goes back to like Tom Hopkins or something way a long time ago, one of those old trainers. Anybody else, something that you think that you could do to get better, or something that you'd like to be better at?
Oh, go ahead, David. if you're
No,
ready.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I just, I think at the end of the day, I found my organization last night, but I'm, or being organized. Okay, I have 2 transactions going right now, about to have a third. I was legitimately shutting down just on like, I know I need to send some paperwork in. I have to send some of these disclosures out, and I know which ones, and I have my checklist, but I'm my organization is not great. I'm just gonna tell you, like, it's not, I feel like I'm gonna miss something, so I just don't send it at all. I mean, I eventually did get it out. Don't get me wrong. I have my checklist and I got everything to the office ladies, and Haley's been holding me accountable and saying you're missing this and all that. So, but I don't like not knowing something, and I'm not afraid to ask about it, but I don't like the idea of, oh, I don't know how to do this. I'm gonna ask for help, but it sort of bothers me, and I kind of shut down a little bit, if that makes sense.
You know, that there's really nothing you can do. You've gone into a brand new business and we can't put, a flash drive in your brain. Wouldn't it be great if we could just upload
The
all that
Matrix,
stuff?
yeah.
Right, you had that 6 months of drinking through the fire hose, but you're doing great. You're doing fantastic. And I'll tell you, after 35 years in the business, the thing that I still want to do better is my phone calls. That is the thing. You get busy and you don't do the basics that are so important. And so I'm actually proud of myself this week, because every time you focus, and teaching helps you focus, every time you focus, you get better. And plus my coach, I am really excited to have the coach. And what I did this week is I really went through my entire database and I put all the people that I'm not quite sure exactly if they would use us, their mom's past people, mom and dads. And I put them in a group alone, and so I can just pull it up and just knock it out. And that's what we're doing, is we're calling all those people that were not our past clients. And the script is going to be something like, we've been staying in touch with you for quite a while. You were clients of our parents, and we want to keep you as clients of the team. And so we just wanted to check in with you. If you do have a real estate need or something that comes up, are we who you would think of and refer to? We're going to call them all. And if they say, oh no, my sister's a realtor, our coach actually wants us to reduce our database and go deeper instead of wide, a bit more. So we're working on that, and that is my project right now and it's hard. After 35 years, those calls are still hard and still asking. So I don't think there's ever a point in your career that it becomes so that it doesn't at least give you some butterflies. But it is absolutely the most rewarding thing you can do. I believe that for sure. So working with a seller. Before we go on, anybody have anything else they want to mention as far as any challenges or things that you want to bring up? All right, well, let's talk about sellers. I think it would be great if we knew exactly how our business was going to go, so that we could plug in the right modules first and foremost. But it actually, in this market, it isn't normal that you would have a seller right away. That isn't really one of the things that is common for a brand new agent, especially in a seller's market. So congrats to all of you who have been able to get listings in your first year or so. That's a really good accomplishment. So with this module, did you notice when he was talking about the motivation? And it's like, well, we might want to move if we found the right thing, or or then you have people that are truly motivated to sell. And it's important to do that pre-listing appointment to qualify them, because there will be people that really are not going to be good sellers for you, and qualifying them really helps you identify where they should be put on your priority list. So if somebody is they're interested, but they have no sense of urgency, then they probably wouldn't be where you would put your first priorities, but definitely somebody you would keep in touch with all the time, right? If you had somebody definitely that is motivated and ready to go, then you're going to try to get that appointment with them. And so steps for a successful listing appointment, I think are important. So let's just go through though the benefits and challenges, because that kind of changes. So you look at the benefits of having listings. And so when we talked about the most optimal way to leverage yourself, when he talked about that, he's also talking about how you get those sign calls, right? And so getting a call off the sign and being able to convert that client from your listing is building business. I know Olivia, she's not on here today, but Olivia, she had a new listing over in a neighborhood, and she was able to pick up a buyer off of that listing and convert them to a sell as well. So that's one way that we leverage our listings. And he said, list to last. That has been a phrase from the first day of my career 30 some years ago, and it hasn't changed. So you definitely, as a professional in the business, and to market yourself and to have a name for yourself and a brand, it's in the listings, right? You get to put the sign in the front yard. Did you find that interesting when he was comparing that to like Coors Field or something like that?
Oh yeah.
It's like, wow, they pay us to put our sign in their yard. So it's kind of neat when you think about it that way. Having that endorsement, so to speak. It's kind of cool. Listings work when you're not. And the nice thing about listings, like if you are working with a buyer and they see a house, you've got to figure out a way to get there right away, right? And make sure they can get in so that they don't lose the opportunity to make a bid, because you wouldn't want them to lose the opportunity and then you lose credibility as the agent being able to help them find the right house. Different with listings, because you set the meeting with the seller when you're going to present offers. You also, you can work that around your time frames, and so it's not always a hair on fire situation. You work it around the seller's time frame, and typically a seller takes about 8 hours of work, and a buyer in a normal market takes about 40. I would say buyers in this market take a lot more than that when you're thinking about how many offers you're writing to get them under contract. And so that is the nice thing about sellers, is you have more control of your time, and they're still out there. And as long as you have listings, you're not unemployed. So it feels really awful if you don't have any buyers and you don't have any listings or anything under contract. You get this urgent feeling of unemployment, right? It's like, I'm gonna get something right away. But listings are great, because as long as you've got listings on the markets, you're working. So, and then also your branding, it's nice to get those calls, but when you have a listing and you can put directionals and the neighborhood gets to know your name, and it really puts you out there like Coors Field. So that's a nice thing about having listings in your neighborhood. And be sure to take advantage of those directionals too. If you get some directionals that are not open house directionals, but home for sale directionals that have your name on them, and then you put them in legal places in the neighborhood and never in anybody's yard unless you have permission. And then that also gives you the same branding as the sign over and over and over again. And that's the only time that you would really want to consider a bus bench or something if that was your neighborhood, because they're just marketing. They don't actually get anything from them. Make sense? So challenges, though, that's absolutely true. We have to spend money on listings, right? So it's easier when you're newer to work with buyers because they take less money, unless you're counting gas these days. You're doing a lot of running around. But truly, there's less of a financial expectation from buyers. Sellers expect you to do the tours, to do the marketing, and to make their property look the best that it possibly can. Also demands more professionalism because your image is out there. You are the Coors on Coors Field. Everybody sees you. And so that professionalism is important. And one of the things that NAR shows us is that sellers look for reputation. And so the more you get your name out there in your marketing, the more the sellers are impressed with your reputation. So the marketing is important, and sellers, it takes a little more in that professionalism and that consistency too, to be consistently in front of people as the market professional. So that's something that I've been teaching in classes for a long time, is the difference between listings and buyers. Buyers are usually easier for newer agents to get. They'll come to open houses, they raise their hands, they want to get pre-qualified, they let you know that they are in the market. Sellers are a little harder to find. And some of the things that you can do to find sellers are door knocking before your open houses and meeting neighbors and things like that. You have to be careful if you're doing an open house for somebody in their farm area though, because you don't want to step on any toes. So you clarify that. But meeting sellers is something that you can do with a listing just by being the professional and doing a really good job and going out there and meeting the other sellers, future sellers in the neighborhood. So obviously your objective is to get it under contract. You remember last week how we talked about the X and Y grid, the love and the time, and you start out, high on love and low on time. And as time goes by, the love meter goes down. That is why we want to do a really good job and price it right, because that affects the love meter. Their objective is to get it under contract and close, have a comfortable, not necessarily perfect. I like that he said that, because it's not always perfect, right? Every deal has a glitch, but that's what we're here for, to make it comfortable. And then to make them an advocate because they had a really good experience. So remember, NAR tells us that sellers will refer their agent up to 3 times in the 6 months after they close. So you really want them to like you, love you, and keep yourself top of mind by being their their best buddy for at least that next 6 months. And you have to be careful that when somebody closes that you don't just drop them like a hot potato, because that is one of the main complaints that people have against realtors. Or they were great while we were in the transaction, calling me all the time, my best buddy, and then they just fell off the face of the earth. That is what Buffini keeps us from doing, is falling off the face of the earth, because we want to be their friends, right? We build these relationships for long term. And it's funny because I can look back in after so many years, relationships that I have, several of them. It's like a silver line. When you're mining, you hit it and it just keeps going and going. And I've got families that I've worked with 16, 17 transactions over the years. And that's what you want, is them to just, they're your people. They keep coming back. My husband has one investor person that he's done 23 transactions with that person. So it's kind of neat to be able to be the realtor of choice for those people. And sellers are the real way that we do it. Sellers, when you represent the seller, you get to claim that you did the sale. If you represent the buyer, you only get to claim that you participated in the sale. And that is because the selling agent really owns the transaction and is responsible for it too. So let's talk about how sellers think for a minute. Have you noticed this going into a house, how their house is better than any other house, no matter what, because it's their castle? And I even found that with my parents who were realtors. If we're not immune, guys, when it comes to our own properties, it's the same thing, our castle versus a house. So we sometimes have to get out of our own way when we're dealing with our own real estate. And most people will recommend that you hire someone else actually to deal with your own real estate. But sellers, their home is their castle, and obviously they want the most money for their house, and in a timely way. And that is what they want. So sellers want the most money, the best net, in the least amount of time with the least hassle. That's NAR tells us that's what sellers want. And so that's what you have to show them you can accomplish. And so when he's talking about a successful listing appointment, he's talking about their motivation to move. when you know what their buttons are, then you know how to approach. And understanding that, like he said, that knowing the answers to those questions is maybe even more important than your listing presentation itself, because that is going to give you your angle, your perspective, and how you can best serve them, right, by knowing what it is that they need. Their timelines obviously are really important, and there's some great questions. What will you do if you don't get there in that time, just to find out what their pain is. Because when you understand what somebody is afraid of or what their pain is, there's their biggest motivation. That's just human nature when you understand what they're afraid of. The detailed CMA, I say do a detailed CMA for your sellers, but also it's great. You can use the RPR, and that's something that Buffini's talked about. The RPR report, if you pull that for your initial appointment, it gives you a ton of information and makes it look like you really did a lot of homework. For you to be able to go, it's not your market analysis. Yeah, you do that depending on the way you do business, but the initial RPR report gives you everything you need to know to go in and find out more about the home. The detailed CMA, I also use RPR for that. There's a lot of programs out there, but I love the way that it gives us the for sale by owners and all the tax records and things too. So it's a great program. And you should always be ready to list the property when you go. That you never want to not be ready. But there are a lot of instances where you want to make sure that you see the property and are credible when you're pricing that property. So you can't just go in with a number if you're going to list at the same time, unless you just absolutely have a solid idea, because you'll lose credibility. It's their castle, remember? If you decide what their castle is worth before you even enter their door, then you're going to lose credibility. So you got to be careful with that one-step appointment and make some adjustments there on the site if you're going to go ahead and price it with them. And I think all of you understand how to do your market studies. Did you notice how it's not just the sold? These days, especially with the changing market, you've got to call the under contracts and the new listings, the pendings, and just sort of get to know what's going on with everybody. And some agents will give you a lot of information and some are more secretive, but you just have to sort of find out the most that you can so you can determine the trend in your pricing. Because if you just look at the comps, you're going to be behind the eight ball. Make sense? So that's pretty exciting. So in the whole sellers module, is there anything that you guys find that is more of a challenge for you or that you're apprehensive about in working with sellers? What about pricing?
I was just about to say, Heidi, pricing. As the new guy, I don't want to lose out on the listing. And so, and I have some confidence, not a lot, about my pricing, because I've been doing it like just for my buyers, and I've gone over with Michael a few times, and he agreed with me on a couple things, on a couple of houses that we're looking at. I was like, yeah, I don't see the value above where you're saying it's at. So that actually gave me confidence. But I know that this particular seller wanted to go way higher, and it's not worth $600,000, this house. And we probably were priced a smidge too high, to be honest with you, on this listing. That's maybe one of the reasons why we only got one offer. But just a little bit. I mean, you know how it is. It could be $10,000 less, and all of a sudden people are interested. So, I mean, that's a challenge for me, because I didn't want to lose the listing, and I wanted to make them happy. So I kind of found that balance. But I knew going in that it was probably worth closer to like $565 instead of $579, $900. If that makes sense.
Yeah. But that's I don't think that that's a challenge that you're having. That is the challenge.
Yeah.
In pricing. So we have one right now that really it should be priced at about $385 max, but they really want $400 plus for it, and we're competing. And so, we may not get that listing because we don't want to overprice it, but we don't want to overpromise either. Remember what happened to our North Glen house? We thought it would sell for about $465, and the seller wanted us to list it for $465. We had like no showings, no offers in that first weekend, Mother's Day weekend. And then, so we backed off of that price. And we said, showings, we actually didn't start showings. We didn't have any. And so we priced it at $450 instead of $465. And then we had We had multiple showings and multiple offers, and we actually ended up selling it for $466,500, and it appraised. So it was just listing it and it closed. So I can tell you all that now. But it really is something that we have to have a conversation with sellers to help them understand the way that the market works. If you overprice it, then you're not going to get the buyers in there that are interested to compete for it. And you can go on to Google or whatever and put in the pricing pyramid, and you'll get a whole bunch of visuals. It's the housing pricing pyramid. It's been around for years and years and years. Find one that you like and take it in your listing packet, and it will really help you to explain that if you price above the market, you're only going to get about 10% of the people competing, and it's not going to drive it up the way that it should. So that will really help you, that pricing pyramid, with that conversation. But we use it to this day. We have the same problem. So, and we may not get the listing because we don't overprice it, because it's not a good thing to go in and just do what somebody wants you to do and overprice either, because then that can hurt your reputation.
Yeah, that's a sign of failure.
Yeah, and in normal markets, you will find there are a lot of instances where there is a second listing agent. The first listing agent told them where to price it. They didn't price it there, so the first listing agent took it anyway, marketed it, and then lost the listing when it didn't sell. And then the seller calls that, list again and calls the first listing agent and says, yeah, but we put it at the price you said. So if you have any buyers, bring them. It happens. Trust me. That will happen, and you'll think back to this. So remember that it's pricing matters. And you don't want to be the first listing agent that overprices, loses the listing, and then the second listing agent that gets it. You want to be the second listing agent, if anything, that gets it. So it's hard, because you hate to turn away any business ever, especially a listing. But if they are just way out of whack, you might have to do it. So
That actually happened to me.
Did it?
Just over this last few weeks, I had a client that has two properties, beautiful properties, that she wanted somebody to do it for free, basically, so you're already dealing with somebody who does not value what you do. So I ended up having to tell her no, that I wasn't, available. And even though that hurt, because I would like to get my signs up, but when you're going to work with somebody who doesn't have any value for what you do, then, who's getting the more harm, I'm not sure, but it felt like me.
So Sean, in all of my years, here's what I found would happen if I would have gone ahead and taken the listing at the lower price. They would just ask for more and more and more, because once you give up your credibility, they don't respect you, and they will continue to ask for your money. And I've seen it quite a few times. One of the new agents that I had, she did a flat fee, $5,000 for somebody in her church, because she wanted to get her sign out there, and I said, you're probably going to regret this. It was a $400,000 and some listing, okay, for a $5,000 fee. So it was really low. And they just kept asking for more money. Like, well, we need, part of that 5,000 to go to this and that. And she never had any credibility. And it was people in her church, but she said she never, ever would do it again. And that person is a great agent. She does over $250,000 a year now. Been in the business for 5 years, but her very first listing, she got burned. So with that. So if you give too much, they just keep asking for more. And a really great script is, well, if I am not a good negotiator with my money, how would I be with yours? Right?
Exactly.
So,
Like that.
well, so how about your items of value and your e-reports? Are you getting those out?
No.
I'm horrible hiding on this right now. Horrible.
Okay, David, you got to put an alarm on.
I know.
The e-reports are really easy to send out. But I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the second one? I went in to do it, and there's so many topics. What's the second e-report topic? Does anyone know?
Do you guys have it in front of you? Do you know what it is?
I don't, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll figure it out.
No, I can
Where
go
you can
look.
find it is go back to the module, and it'll give you a link straight to it so that you can see what.
Oh, okay. Okay,
the
perfect.
resources.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I was gonna jump in there and look for you. I should know right offhand, but I'm a member and so mine is different than yours. And mine that went out this month was the value of estate planning, and I don't think that's yours.
Yeah.
So, but I can look it
Maybe
up.
credit or else, I don't remember. I'm sorry. It was a while
Well,
ago.
no worries. It's, and those are always available to you. So, and sometimes there's bonus material too. Like one of the e-reports that was going on right in the middle of COVID and everybody was getting unemployed and it was all about keeping your credit good. We didn't send that one. It's like, no,
Yeah.
let's just poke them.
They need a job. Yeah.
He did another bonus one about taking care of yourself or something. So we did that. So you got to kind of think about those things and look. So there are more materials available to you than just what is scheduled to.
Oh, this is easy. I'm looking at it right now, Heidi. It's say goodbye to debt is what the e-report is.
It's
Say goodbye to debt.
say goodbye to debt. Okay, good one. Good. Popeyes. So doing Popeyes. Does everybody have something they can Popeye with this week?
No, I'd like
Oh.
to do that though.
Okay, you know those ice cream scoops are super cute. Let me go grab something real quick. So I'm gonna borrow yours, Renee, because yours are ready to go. So there's two tags in Buffini. One of them looks like this. That's for an ice cream scoop.
Mhm.
The other one is like this. We all scream for ice cream. That one. So those are in there. Ice cream scoops. You can get them on Amazon for about $7, $8 for a really nice one. So those are good things to do. The relish is really cute. And I did see that you could probably order them on Costco.com and pay $9 for the relish pack if you wanted to go that route. Did you see the little thing? I'll show you that one. That's pretty cute. It's this one. Just popping by to catch up and let you know that I relish your referrals from your realtor who really cuts the mustard.
Nice.
So that's cute. Anyway, so great Popeyes, but you know, it's really just a matter of finding. So you can go to the dollar store and pick up some beach balls and do something like, when it comes to real estate, choose a realtor who's really on the ball or something like that. I don't think there's so much you can do. So the most important thing is just getting face to face with people. And you'll set appointments when you're there and they'll tell you what's going on with the neighbors. And maybe you'll even get to build a relationship like Ray did this last week. How about your personal notes? Are you finding those easy to do?
Yes.
One of the things I noticed from my coach, because they have the group coach that he coaches also does a mastermind and they take notes. And so the tip from them was to use a Sharpie and write big. So you don't have to write a whole lot. And you know, if you write small, then you feel like you're writing a whole letter or it looks insignificant, right? So, you know, you can just write with a Sharpie, thinking of you today, it's a good life, you know, Sean, or, you know, you don't have to make it a big thing. So anyway, that was one of the tips I thought was really good. How about adding people to your database? Are you finding that being able to get out there, you're able to meet more people?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
A lot more business people, which is nice. Try to.
Yes, isn't it nice? It is so nice to be able to get out there. And we've done, with this Buffini, there were some really good ideas on the personal notes. So if you go to a restaurant or something like that, like we took our RV in and the service person is so helpful and she's just so awesome. I used this script. Thanks so much for the excellent service. It's obvious that you love what you do. It's a good life, Heidi. So then, and in your book, there's some really great short scripts. You know, it doesn't have to be long. You're just trying to say, hello, here I am, your realtor of choice, right? Super. So meeting one of your favorite people for breakfast or lunch or even happy hour. I don't know why he didn't put that in there, but that is something that,
I love breakfast. I mean, Heidi, you want to go to breakfast? I love breakfast.
Well, I love breakfast too, but I'm not likely to give you a lot of real estate business.
Probably.
But you're definitely one of my favorite people. But it is nice we can do this again. So do you have anything set up with your people?
I'm trying to get an appointment to go get coffee and donuts this week with a friend that I just did a pop-by gift last week for their birthday.
Nice.
Trying to
Nice.
like catch up and see where we go from there.
Let's see, I have an artist friend who's finally able to do an exhibition again. And so we get to go to her art show. And we've got another dinner coming up with some other people that also gave us a referral. So that was an interesting one. The referral came from his, it's his ex-wife. So that's weird.
Yeah, but I mean, if they are
Usually don't get
friends,
that.
you know,
He usually doesn't go that way, but
Yeah.
okay, so he referred his ex-wife. Well, that's how I'm happy with that. Well, good deal. Anything great you have coming up this week that we can all just look forward to hearing about next week?
Yeah, I'm going on vacation.
Hey.
Awesome. Where are you going, Joanne?
We're going to North Carolina to the beach.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, whole family, 30 people. So it'll be really fun. I'm
I
looking
haven't
forward to
seen
it.
each other for a long time.
Yeah. So, but I am
sorry.
packing,
Let me close my door.
I'm packing my notes, so I have good intentions because it's weird to think you're going to be disconnected for like 2 weeks. And so I have a couple closings while I'm gone. So I definitely will be, it's like a working vacation, but I'm really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. You deserve it. And it's probably been a long time since you've been able to see a lot of these people.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
take your cards and your personal notes. You never know when you might need one.
They're getting packed.
I take them everywhere I go. I call it my project box. Sorry for my dogs. So anybody else? Something that you're looking forward to this week? We can follow up with next.
yeah, then I was invited to a 4th of July barbecue on the 4th for
Awesome.
Teresa's little venue there. So we'll see if I can pick up some referrals from that and negotiate, warm up those relationships because they're
Yeah.
old
be sure.
family friends.
When you're giving out your card, be sure to get one back because you can never follow up on the ones you give out unless you
Right.
get one back.
Sure.
Yeah, cool. Anything else? Anybody else got stuff? Well,
No, not really.
so we have some time. So today is 15. So next week we don't have a module. And that's because of really 4th of July and everything, and I'm going to be heading out of town. So the following week though, on the 6th, I moved because I had something for my parents come up on the 8th. If you guys don't mind, we'll cover 16 and 17 on Tuesday, the 6th. So I asked her to make both of those modules available to you. So that's working with a seller part 2. And the next module after that, which is 17, which is grow yourself, grow your business. So if we've got some extra time since we're not meeting next week, if you would listen to those 2 modules before the 6th, they should open up for you on the 29th, June 29th.
So we'll do nothing on the 8th then, is that what you're saying?
That
We'll
is
just do those
correct.
2 on the Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll just do it on Tuesday that week.
Okay, all right.
Oh, awesome. Well, one more thing before you go. When I did the Pathways to Professionalism, one of the first Buffini classes I did, I learned about this book. One Small Step Can Change Your Life, The Kaizen Way. And I just want you to consider ordering this book because it really takes the things that are mountains in our lives and helps you to take little bites and get through some of those things. It's been wonderful to me, not just in business, but any part of your life where you've got something that's a challenge, is taking it into little bites instead of the whole thing. Because our brain is wired to run when we think about the whole picture if it's overwhelming. And so we can teach ourselves to be more successful by doing little things. Yeah, it's the way our brain works. Just think about it. When you repeat something several times a day, all of a sudden you're doing it.
Manifest.
But our brain also has a flight response that, that's too scary. And then we eat, and we can't even think. Writer's block, that's what that is. I need to write a book. It's like, well, how about we just think of, emotion that you'd like to have in the book, or, and so that's what it is. So anyway, really great read. And I keep doing it over and over again because it's something that I think has a lot of value. So
What's it called again?
it's One Small Step Can Change Your Life, Eisenway,
Gotcha. Thank you.
by Robert Marv, MD. Anyway, super good. So I hope you have a fantastic 4th of July.
You as well,
Safe
Heidi.
and just enjoy. We get to get out there and enjoy it. So we'll see you on the 6th.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.
Good luck, Ray.
Thanks.